cell service is unreliable and unavailable. It's a revolutionary technology. It's the first company of its kind to use phones to communicate without that kind of backup, the cell, internet, or satellite service. The future is now. It's compatible with any iOS or Android device. Helps you leverage the smartphone you already have in your pocket. Whether you're outdoors, emergency circumstances, whatever it may be, Go 10 is vital where cell service or Wi-Fi is unavailable, unreliable, even unaffordable. Folks, it's a really good product. Go check it out. Promo code DAN35 for $35 off at gotenna.com. That's GOTENNA.com. Gotenna.com. Promo code DAN35. Check it out. It's a really cool product. All right, some good news. So, let me see. Keep posting your hosting of the meeting. Oh, I'm getting I'm getting so many emails and texts. It's like overwhelming. Joe, I'm sorry, by the way, to torture you today in the show.
Okay.
So, folks, Joe is one of the finest, producers here in the business, but I have tortured him on today's show. You may sense it throughout the show. It's been rough. So my sincere apologies. Everybody tweet Joe at Joe Haas with a Z1 if you like the show and thank him for doing about 2 hours of edits on today.
It's been kind of tough, yeah.
Oh, poor guy. He's like taking notes. I'm like, Joe, please, that one, this one, that one. All right. It's good news, folks. Council of Economic Advisors released their growth forecast. This is really, really good news. And it looks like everybody's starting to come around to the new growth reality that what the left calls secular stagnation. In other words, this was a theory that let me explain this the right way, because if you don't get this, you're not going to understand a lot of the left's not rhetorical nonsense in the games they play. The left at the end of the Obama administration was desperate to explain away the paltry growth rates. Just to be clear, folks, Obama's growth rates during his time in office measured by GDP were some of the lowest in history. Matter of fact, he's the first president in American history to not reach 3% growth in any year of his presidency. Those are troubling numbers. The left needed an excuse, so they started a bandy about this theory of secular stagnation. Secular stagnation was a far left liberal economic talking point. And the idea, Joe, was that, well, you know what, this is the new normal, low economic growth. And the gist of it being everything that's been invented has been invented. And this may just be the way 1% and 2% may be the new normal for the future. By the way, that's not Barack Obama's fault. That's them saying it, not me. Yeah. Just so we're clear, bud. Now, interesting. Trump's only in office a year. Council of Economic Advisors comes out and says, hey, growth for 2018, Joe, looks like 3.1%, which kind of says to the secular stagnationists, no thanks, have a nice day, but thanks for playing the game. Not to mention, Joe, it also says we may be looking at 3.1% through 2020. Now, my opinion, folks, I think after the tax cuts, I think that's a low number. I think we could hit 3.5. Now, remember, remember the rule of sevens for you finance people? Yeah. You know, your investments double in 10 years. That works for economic growth as well. At 3.5%, in 20 years, the real economy would double. If we can hit 3.5% in our lifetimes, I'm 43. By the time I'm 63 years old, you will be looking at a real economy that doubled. I mean, what's the average median income? $45,000, $40,000 or something? If the economy were to, in fact, double, the median income would be $90,000, $80,000 in real money in today's dollars, folks. This is impressive. Now, they're forecasting 3.1 in the report, but I think it could get higher. If we can keep this going for a good, strong period of time, again, in our lifetimes, we could be looking at an even more vibrant, robust economy. I think there's a good reason to smile. The Council of Economic Advisors, is everything they say gospel? No, of course not. But I think the fact that the secular stagnationists, everything that's been invented has been invented and the government's going to be the source of growth in the future, I think we can finally start to put some of them out to pasture their theories and say, hey, listen, guys, really, this is obviously garbage and nonsense. Now, corresponds with another Rasmussen poll, which I'll put in the show notes today. I'd like you to take a look at, where Trump approval has now popped to 48%, folks. Now, you may say, well, figures are relative. What was Obama's at this time in his presidency? Obama's was 45. So, folks, the arguments about Trump, how he's, his approval is historically low and people can't stand Trump are not really based in reality. Now, I'm not a big believer in the polls anyway, because obviously they failed horribly during the Trump election, Joe. But I find it interesting that even the polls the liberals are trying to use are so dramatically skewed that they're painting a really ridiculous and unnecessarily bad portrait of where Trump stands. Yeah. Now, to be clear what I think this is about, I think this has a lot to do, folks. This has a lot to do with the fact that people are actually seeing the results in their own paychecks. It's very difficult. We saw this with the Reagan years.
Yeah.
When you engage in a tax-cutting program, now, if we can accompany it with government spending, it'd be even better. But one of the things about government spending that government spending cuts and government spending in general that doesn't have a hugely positive effect on approval ratings is it's not seen as real money sometimes. If I don't explain this right, stop me. But I think the way it works is people assume government debt is somehow not going to hit them, because it hasn't right away. I told you about interest rates. That interest rates, as they go up because people won't lend us money as we get farther and farther in debt, will be the canary in the coal mine. But the reality is, Joe, they haven't yet. I mean, interest rates are still very low. Matter of fact, they're historically low, and people aren't going and getting car loans at 19%. They're not getting mortgages at 15%. And I don't wish that to happen. I think it's going to, sadly, if we don't get our spending situation under control. But the point I'm trying to make, Joe, is that it hasn't hit people in the wallet. So people, it's not going to affect approval ratings as much as it should because people don't see an instant impact from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
With tax cuts, and we saw this in the Reagan years when he cut the top rate from 70 to 28%, people saw immediate income effects in their own paychecks. You're seeing that now with people getting bonuses, with people getting raises. This is really dramatic stuff. And I think that's what's leading to this corresponding bump in Trump's approval ratings. And if we can continue the economic growth, as James Carville is alleged to have said to Bill Clinton once, it's the economy, stupid. I think the Democrats are going to have a really difficult and hard time combating the Trump economic powerhouse that's been created since the secular stagnationist and the Obamaites have left office. They're going to have a really tough time explaining it away. I mean, what are you going to say to people if they get a job at $70,000 and $80,000 a year and they were working for 40 and 50 before? What are you going to say to people if they get a $2,000-$3,000 bonus? What are you going to say to people if they get a promotion? What are you going to say to people when their kids get a job? Are you going to continue with are you going to be the crumbs and collusion party forever? I mean, is that going to be your Democrat campaign slogan for 2018 and 2020? Crumbs, economic crumbs. This is all crumbs. Thousands of dollars is not crumbs. Collusion. Is this the best you've got? Folks, I think they're in a lot of trouble if they continue this stuff. I don't think there's a viable path forward electorally. Remember, Reagan won 49 states. The only state he lost in re-election was Minnesota, which was Mondale's home state. And he only lost that state by a couple of thousand, I think it was 3,000 votes. Because his economic plan was so popular. He won Maryland, New York, California. So the economy, and I'm not giving Democrats advice. I'm just saying, if this is going to be your campaign plan going forward, good luck. That is a complete loser. All right. Here's a story I saw yesterday at the Wall Street Journal, which I thought was interesting, and it just speaks to what I was talking about yesterday, Joe, during the show about how the conservative economy may be the only path forward. The story's about this growth in a la carte type programming. It's not so much about cord cutters meaning people who disconnect from cable, but it's about the growth in Netflix and HBO and podcasting, and it's a really good story. And it says, listen, a lot of these people who may have been cable talents before or entertainers who wouldn't have been given a platform on whatever, ESPN or Comedy Central, whatever it may be, are now starting their own shows. And they're selling them to Netflix and other places, and they're doing quite well, and people are listening and watching. And it applies to me. I mean, this show is called The Dan Bongino Show. I always joke with people, it's amazing. They found a guy named Dan Bongino to host the show called The Dan Bongino Show. I know it's a horrible joke. My wife hates it, but for some reason, I can't stop telling stupid jokes. But the show, that's what this is. It's a la carte. It's on demand. You get it on demand. It's free to you. We hope to keep it that way for a long time. But this is growing as a platform. And one of the examples I give is the guy who did that show Talk Soup on, what was it, on E or whatever it is. He's on Netflix now, and he has this really low budget show. That's him talking about it, not me. And he said at one point, he jokes, he goes, if we're not the lowest budget show on Netflix, I'd be astonished. But the show apparently does pretty well. I don't know the guy's name. Doesn't really matter. I bring this up because, folks, even in a la carte programming in the future, The distribution networks are going to matter. And this is where this war on conservatives and libertarians is not going to stop. If the distribution channel now is cable, and let's say the Dan Bongino show, like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to have the Dan Bongino show on cable. Why? Well, he's a conservative. You effectively have cut me off from doing that. It's going to be up to places like Netflix and HBO to provide alternate kind of counter programming, the liberal stuff as well. Why do I bring up HBO? I'm not targeting anybody here. I'm just saying HBO just picked up Pod Save America, which is a very popular podcast done by some former Obama officials. And let me say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I am not being silly or ridiculous about it. Congratulations to the guys who started Pod Save America. They are liberals. They're leftists. Yeah, but nice job. You put together a business model. People like your product, like people like ours. And unlike a lot of liberals out there, and I'm not saying the Pod Save America people are calling for any kind of a boycott or anything like that, but a lot of liberals are. They just don't want conservative voices. I applaud them. HBO just picked them up, Joe. I don't know what they're going to do, like a video version, I guess, of Pod Save America. I'm not really sure. But I applaud them. I don't, again, I vehemently disagree with their political views, but that's, America's a vibrant, flourishing country where ideas should be able to flourish. My complaint is that I can guarantee you, Joe, that if our political, keep in mind, we may not be as popular as Pod Save America, but I assure you, we're not far away.
Yeah.
This show that Joe and I put together, thanks exclusively to you, has gone bonkers. I'm almost positive that if we were to approach HBO and to say, hey, did you guys entertain this for doing a video show, that one of the, I don't want to speak for them in advance, but I think it would be an issue that our show was political, but conservative political.
Yeah.
My problem with the whole thing is if the default position is liberalism is acceptable and conservatism isn't. It's a free market. I can't be clearer about this. As I said yesterday about Twitter, they're free to do whatever they want. It's their company, Facebook too. So is HBO. They're free to pick up and not pick up whoever they want, Joe. Netflix as well. I'm just saying, us as consumers, we have to find a way to bypass this. And I think the way to circumvent and bypass these distribution networks, am I clear? You get what I'm talking about here? Netflix and others in the future is going to be to go to subscriber-only models that are funded by you, and you go and pick out what you want. You go to NRA TV, you go to Bongino.com, you go to CRTV, and you pick out the programming you want, and you pay for the program. It's the only way to put it on. If I could do it for free and was independently wealthy, I'd be more than happy to do it. But again, I applaud these guys. I just wish the favor would be returned on our end, because folks, as I said to you yesterday during the show, and I'll tell you again today, I don't bore you with a lot of the internal details. Some of them actually aren't even that boring, but I don't want to share too much sometimes because I don't want to give anybody else ideas. But the pressure going on behind the scenes to silence a lot of conservatives out there is really dramatic. And at some point, we are really desperately going to need your help. I mean, it's happening at conferences. Did you see this thing with this? Oh, I'm sorry, folks. One more story. I didn't mean to get off track, but this is important. It's even happening in relatively conservative areas. The NRA is having their convention in Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas, not exactly a bastion of liberalism. Now, to be clear, a lot of Democrats in Dallas, no question about it. But there are political officials in Dallas pushing for the NRA to move their convention out of Dallas.
Yeah.
Folks, it doesn't stop. I mean, if Planned Parenthood wanted to have its convention in New York City, listen, I absolutely object to everything Planned Parenthood does, but Planned Parenthood can speak out. They can have a convention if they'd like. I mean, you're not going to see me telling Madison Square Garden or wherever they were to do it that you guys can't host these people. This is the battle that's going on behind the scenes. I mean, if we can't even host a convention in Dallas, then folks, we're in a world of trouble. And this is the kind of stuff I need you to be on the lookout for, and that is why I desperately need your support, and I need you to spread the word about the show. My sincere apologies for asking you for favors. We try not to do that. We try to just provide you a show and be low maintenance, but there's a really sincere and tough battle going on behind the scenes, and I could use your help in advancing the cause, folks. And thanks to everyone who has supported us and the show. Please go to Bongino.com. Check out the show notes today. I think you'll like me. I have some good selections, and please spread the word and join my email list. I'll send these articles, as always, right to your inbox. I really appreciate it. Thanks, folks. If you're at CPAC, by the way, please come say hello. I'll be at the NRA.